yes. Okay, off to a good start. Start by introducing to my left, town engineer Dennis Quintal, alternate Steve Padfield, Lynn Merrill, who's just left her seat momentarily. You got Phil Coombs, I'm Peter Coffin, co-chair, and chairing tonight. We got alternate and administrative assistant Ellen Faulkner, and we've got Chris Scratchaw, Peter Bakey, and Robin Duquet. Is it Duquet, right? And of course, Glenn Greenwood, the circuit planner. So we can start off with the first two fairly easily. It's 645 Joseph Falzone, applicant proposing a 13-lot open space residential single-family subdivision, and we have a request that we need to act on for a to be continued from the November 19th night's hearing and December 10th. Okay, those are two different ones. To the January 21st, 2019 hearing. This will allow time to adjust staff and third-party engineering review comments, specifically develop a revised lot layout, etc., and review the concept amendment with the town circuit rider planner and engineering consultant, and file the requisite revised plans, etc., in advance of the requested hearing date, signed by by Christian Smith. So I'll entertain a motion to move that to the January 21st hearing.
So second.
Okay, it's been moved second. Any discussion? Okay, take a vote. All in favor?
It's January 21st.
21st. Yeah. That's why January 21st hearing, and so all in favor, and we need a time 6:45 just for all of them, right? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And any abstentions? Okay, so it's the second application was by Donald and Philip Pryor for 61 North Road, and in this one, the Pryors have withdrawn the application and are going to sell the lot, so they have no further use of this application. So we don't really need to vote on the withdrawal.
No, there's no action required.
And no action required. So that's a notification that the application has been withdrawn. So that moves us rapidly into item number 3, which is Robert and Cynthia Fraser, 12 Rock Rimmon Road on tax map U11 and lot 28 and 29. Proposal for boundary line adjustment, transferring 1.99 acres from U1128 to U1129. And so if you can come forward, the people who are presenting that. Are either the Frasers here or somebody representing them? Engineer? Oh, we moved too fast.
I did call Charlie Zilch has been a representative working on this through our office, and I called him yesterday and left a message with
Telling them that it's likely to come up quickly.
that the 3 things in front of them have been changed. I didn't talk directly to Charlie. I talked with whoever it was that answered their phone and told me that they would relate that in essence to Charlie.
Yeah, we can postpone this a little bit. Is there any objection, or do we?
It's board business.
Can we go to the next one? Yeah. Can we
Are
do
they
the
here?
next public?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that we can keep the board business at the end, and then if we want to keep this one open in case they show up the way we did last time, we need a motion to do that, or just.
No, the minutes of the
You're in charge of the agenda.
Yeah. All right. So we'll just hold the Fraser case open and move on to the Hanoverian Holdings, 1 Library Lane, Kingston. So, if you'd like to come up and present, it's probably for the people who were last on the agenda, it's a good early start.
Before you move on,
Yeah.
what happened to the
Okay, Joseph Falzone was 13 lot open space. We moved that to January 21st. We, not rescheduled. but
Our apologies, we just actually voted on that.
We continue.
They
Continued, sorry, that's what.
Yeah.
First.
Briefly mentioned Joe Falzone, we are actually the auditors, that was a separate item.
Well, he said, he did
Oh,
mention both of them. He said there are
About-
two things, the lot line adjustment and the subdivision, and and they've asked to.
They're two separate items.
Oh, sorry, yeah, they are two separate items.
Yeah, he just grouped them in one.
Right. All right, so let's make this clear that the applicant proposing a boundary line adjustment, it's part of their request that I read to continue. That was the December, that's actually originally, I think, part of the
Yeah,
December one.
December,
That's good, okay,
adjustment for our line was tonight.
which has been continued to January. Just
January
now.
21st. So,
What was his meeting, his agenda item in?
There are two agenda items.
There are two agenda items. When he came to the understanding that he was going to have to continue and do additional, actually a whole new plan for the subdivision, he doesn't, the board would have to condition the boundary line adjustment on
Can't do that.
approval of the subdivision. He doesn't really want to do that. He'd rather have them all handled at the same time.
Oh,
And so his
now we're
request-
January what?
21st.
21st.
Yeah.
No, this will
No,
actually.
this is
serve
speed
as-
notification on both those items.
January 21st, same time.
Correct.
Same place. Same venue, yeah.
Probably a little bigger gang, but yes, the same one.
Well, yes, I noticed a couple of.
Same gang on this side of the table.
But yeah, this is my first time, my third time here,
Right.
I'm related stuff. You guys seem to be consistent. Players seem to change more often on that side.
Actually, you did bring up, that does bring up an interesting point, though. I did not announce that, since the chair is not here, we're down one member, so, Steve, would you be the voting member on this? On this, we had a quorum on the other one, so.
So it's almost split.
Yeah. So,
If I can, so to eliminate any confusion before we continue,
re-vote on the first.
no.
Okay.
I want to explain that when I came back from vacation, I had to post this agenda that day. I asked what happened, because I couldn't possibly have listened to anything yet. And I was told that Falzone and Pryor was continued. Okay. It wasn't until I listened to the minutes that I found out they were continued 2 months, not one. So I'm going to post this
Repost that
again for
for
December, because that was the time and date certain that the board said, at which point you're gonna
That
have to
explains the letter.
continue that.
Okay. Yeah,
So
that
that's why,
will be
yes, when I
recontinued, yeah.
finally read the minutes, I'm like,
Well, I was looking,
So-
saw that in November and December, so it's,
but that's why.
yeah, that explains.
So it's for, these two were actually continued to December 10th, but I did not have that information when I had to post the agenda.
Okay, so, we are nonetheless at, Hanoverian Holdings. And, so, we opened that hearing, we're opening now at, 6:55. And, we should have plans, 'cause this is the, one library thing. And then we have a comment sheet from Dennis
And then I'll,
and from Glenn. Avoid any.
I'm
Okay.
good.
Elevation. All right, if you'd like to present the proposal, and then we'll have the board ask questions.
So I can, you want me to just describe what we're gonna?
What, yeah, describe what you're doing.
do here?
Tell me who he is.
Oh, thank you, yes, can you give us your name?
Sure. Jeff Bochlepek. I'm one of the owners of Hanoverian Holdings, which is the
You want
holding
the last
company
name
for the real
spelled?
estate.
I think I've got it in here somewhere.
It's right on the plan.
Oh, good.
Oh, okay, good.
Mr. Polachek.
Yeah.
Polachek
Oh, yeah.
is one of the people the plan was prepared for.
Right. Yep.
All right.
So what we're proposing is a change in use for the garage. Right now, it's just general storage like it is for any other garage.
Could you hold on 1 second? Could someone hand me the
Oh.
tape recorder? Wait a minute.
Alan, you go on vacation and everything falls apart.
This is all. Okay. We're all set.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I just gotta give a little bit of background of what we do because it applies to why we need a change in use. So we're a CPA firm and we do audits of benefit plans. It's a unique little niche that we focus on and we do very well at that. We're like one of the largest CPA firms in the country for what we do. We're in the top 15 in the country. But what happens when we audit benefit plans is we're constantly coming into contact with PII, personally identifying information. And so we have to be compliant with a lot of regulations about protecting that data and making sure we safeguard that. As we've developed that niche, our company has grown. And as you've seen, we used to be at 51 Church Street and then subsequently moved over to 1 Library Lane to fulfill some of our space requirements. Right now, we have a training room in the basement that is about half of one of our floors, and we use that to address our company. Whenever we need to get everybody together to do training, you know, RISA-specific training or training for auditing requirements or things of that nature, that's where we go, and we do all that training. And then we also have our storage scattered throughout our building. We would like to be able to use our building to have more office space and more desk space. So this is where the change of use comes in, is we would like to be able to take the first floor of the garage and convert that into a large room that we could meet and address the company inside the garage. And then upstairs, we want to have 3 rooms that would be specific for meeting the compliance requirements of storing our files. For our industry, we need to retain our records for 7 years. What we've determined we like to do is most of our stuff, we're paperless, so most of our stuff is online, and we don't want the data, the personally identifying information, to be accessible online. So we want to have it. What we do is we keep 2 years worth of data on our main server, and then we take the other 5 years and we put that onto their own machines. And then we have broken up our practice into the tax side and the audit side. And for SOC, we're going to be trying to get SOC 2 compliant, which is going to have, you know, we're going to engage another audit firm to come in and audit what we do. And part of the requirements is going to be making sure that we have these right safeguards in place. So what we want to do is have one room that's going to be an designated audit room where people can go in and where we can access and store that separately under a separate lock and key. And we're going to make sure that that access gets limited to only certain people in the company. And then we'll be able to create this log of who's entering and exiting that room. And the same thing for the tax room. And then the other one would be more of just a general file storage room. And then the bottom room would be just used occasionally. We do like events. We have a lot of young people in my company, so we have little events where when we do the training, we also bring in, you know, food or whatever we can do to help make it a little bit more interesting, because it's kind of dry what we do. But That's what we're hoping to achieve.
Construction of the shed.
And then the shed would be just to get, we want to, we have some tires, we have, you know, some like lawn equipment, some, you know, just salt for the water softeners, things like that. And we want to keep that feel down on that first floor, more like a meeting room and less like storage, so we just want to throw that out into the shed.
Okay, I guess we'll start with Dennis's comments first.
So I took a look at the plan and off of the following comments, went through the regulations, the site plan regulations. And under Article 904-5G28, the existing building is labeled dwelling. I assume people are living there. It would be prudent to show the location of the sanitary disposal system on the lot and provide calculations to show the proposed and approved use of the disposal system also, and also water supply requirements. 904-5G29, number 2, show the location for solid waste storage. 904-5G32, show landscaping. G33, show signs. G34, show lighting. 904-6D, show the limit of the buffer zone to be maintained on this lot, as far as the tree buffer to be maintained. Number 7, the garage building should show the limit of people who should occupy the meeting room, and the question is there water supply to this building? And if there was, then there would be a question about waste disposal, so that's what I would like to have. That's why I asked the question, and maybe it can be answered. Number 8, 904-15, parking requirements, calculations for the number of parking space needed for the purpose of use of the dwelling, 45 employees, and the garage meeting room. 904-15B10, at this time, should the parking area be modified to be more in compliant with mitigation requirements, landscaping, shading, for the environmental impact. Number 10, a parking space encroachment is shown on the northwest corner of Library Lane. It may be appropriate for the space to be eliminated or obtain an easement on that lane. 11, 908.11.1 is stormwater. It appears that a majority of the stormwater runoff from the impervious surfaces on site flows westerly to a swale that I presume treats the runoff and directs it to the off-site wetland resource area. This existing condition has been in place for many years. The question, will the board want further justification that the runoff treatment is adequate? And I notice also that on the plan, not only does the swale end, it also it shows the limit of the abutting buffer zone. So the runoff not only goes through the swale, but also has to go through the buffer zone to get to the wetland. So there's quite a bit of area and length of treatment for the swale. So so that's just the question there, and that kind of was the completion of my review at this time.
Okay, I think probably address some of these questions. And the first one is because Glenn also had this question is about why it's listed as dwelling, and to just answer the question about are there people living there or no. So it should be just, this is a plan modification to say office building.
Okay.
That's miscommunication between your surveyor and you.
Okay.
Because they've called it a dwelling, but it hasn't been.
Oh, existing dwelling.
Yeah, it hasn't been a dwelling
No, it's a garage.
the whole time I've ever.
No.
I think they're referring to as your main building, your office building.
Yeah, oh, no, nobody's.
It says right on it, existing dwelling.
Dwelling, yeah, no,
That
that's,
would be a residence,
yeah,
stay there,
nobody's living there.
that's what they're talking about.
No, nobody's living there, that's error. Strictly a office building.
So are there any comments from the board on Dennis's comments? The other ones are pretty straightforward. I think one of the questions, I don't know, why don't we have Glenn read his, because some of them are redundant to it, like the signs issue, so, and we can discuss those issues that are open.
Yeah, so I guess I'd preface my comments by saying, if it weren't for that, if it weren't for there being a request to build the shed, we might not have even known about this, because they probably could have converted that garage without us ever knowing about it. But it did come through us, posing the issue of how to deal with this. But from my perspective, this is a really small kind of change to this property. And in my mind's eye, it doesn't require a lot of the things that our site plan review regulations require of it, but because we do require these things, I have a list here and Dennis has a list as well. So with that being said, the applicant, and I have requested a waiver for mandatory preliminary review, which was something that I was trying to remember if that was really the case. Do you remember formally requesting to not have to do preliminary review on this?
No, not formally. I just came down here and spoke with people, said this is what I'm hoping to do, what do I need to do? I've been in this town for quite a long time.
And I don't think that that's something that we would have had a problem with approving.
Right.
But I think in the end run, we should have a request, not have to do a preliminary review. And that's something we can just write up at any point in the day. The board can vote on that. An elevation view of the shed is necessary because it's a new constructed building space, and this could be in the form of a photograph of the proposed shed, or if you're getting a shed from a manufacturer, just a picture of their specs of what that would look like. The elevation, the topographic elevations on the plan are supposed to be tied to USGS coordinates, and I couldn't see that has been accomplished on the plan. Dennis mentioned that the detailed stormwater management plan for the proposal needs to be prepared. The location of solid waste disposal facilities must be indicated on the plan. Existing water and sewage facilities on the property is up to 200 feet from the boundary line that must be shown on the plan. Will the new shed have any exterior lighting? Because if it does have exterior lighting, that's supposed to be detailed on the plan as well. Does the new use require any signage? Are you planning on putting signage someplace on the site saying that you have this new space? If so, that should be detailed on the site plan. Why is the primary structure called a dwelling? Office space always has been. That should be changed. And so, my counsel to the board is to think about which of these requirements Dennis and I have talked about are
Waiverable and which prefer.
necessary in this review.
Well, I guess we probably ought to find out what the current use of the garage building is as what, how has it been used? Since you've had it?
Storage, right?
It's just storage, yeah, we don't use it much for anything. There's some, tires, some sporting good equipment for the employees that when we have little outings outside, stuff like that is all in there. There's some file cabinets, some files in there.
So I guess the other
So
question.
it's a legitimate change of use.
It's a change of use, and that's what they've requested, so, and I guess then we get down to the nitty-gritty, like, is there already water out to that facility? No water and no, obviously then no drainage. So that you'd have to develop a plan for supplying water and what the demand was, just look at Dennis's comments on that, and how the wastewater is gonna tie in, and whether it's to meet the capacity of the additional building.
Are they proposing putting water to it?
I wouldn't even, I don't.
Oh, I thought you were talking about having a kitchen, having, food and stuff out there.
No, we would just, we get pizzas delivered during the conference.
Brought in food, not cooking food.
No, we're not cooking food,
Okay.
no, gosh, that wouldn't.
Oh, okay, I thought it was.
Yeah, no, we don't wanna have any water or anything, it's strictly
Okay,
just
so-
for like an hour-long meeting here and, like, every couple of,
So
once a month.
no bathrooms or anything else, just, that will all be
No.
in the principal building,
Right,
and there's no change to the footprint of the parking area,
no,
and, signs, any additional signs?
no signage.
Wow, we're going through these fast. so, lighting, any changes there?
No, we already have, there's a big light that's on top, on the gable end of the garage already, and then there's a parking lot light. It's already, both lights are already in place. We wouldn't change any of that.
All right, so, I guess comments from the board, if you want to ask and what you want to do.
Maybe we should address each item.
Each item, yeah, all right.
So the first item would be, change of use,
Where's that?
looking at the, agenda,
Oh, the agenda item.
that, the proposal to change the use.
The addition of a 12 by 14-foot shed, so,
Do the use first and then maybe the shed.
yeah, but I mean, in order to do the use change, we probably ought to address the questions that were brought up by Dennis and Glenn as to, we sort of just went through it quickly.
Okay, so,
No increase in employees, right, so the parking requirements don't. So, yeah, Peter, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, take one at a time. Let's just take, Dennis's,
Dennis's,
just
okay.
write down them one at a time. Then we'll take Glenn's, double check everything.
Okay. Okay, and then we can talk about those many. Okay, so the waivers and stuff. So number one, the dwelling on the property being listed as existing dwelling, is just gonna be a modification to the plans, is that correct? Yes.
I'll get that.
Right. Number two, Dennis, do you still need this location for solid waste storage on the plan? Because that affects,
well, I think back to number one, you need to show the sanitary disposal system location, which is in the front of the building, between the building and the street.
I see, it should be on the plan.
Please show where that is.
Yeah,
I would assume that septic system has been designed appropriately for 45 people, as a minimum. I don't know, but does that need to be proven?
would that be in the property file, the health inspector?
We will have a design for this in the property file. I would expect that this is not older than 1972, I don't believe.
Wasn't there a daycare there at one time?
That was.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of use, so high volume of wastewater that left the building, so I would assume that it's plenty big enough.
Yeah, my assumption when I looked at this is that since there wasn't an increase in employees, that the system that's there is adequate.
Right now, but was it designed years ago for less? That's what I was concerned about, but if it was a daycare center, I would assume that there would be a lot more wastewater.
And the doctor's office.
I suppose, but.
So how do you want to handle that? Do you want to have that as a,
But it may be some evidence can be proven by a previous septic plan that shows that there's adequate water. Size system is adequate.
so we add the septic disposal system to the plans and provide a copy of the plan to show the design size. Okay.
Is this change of use really requiring that, though?
Yeah.
I mean, the septic system is the septic system, just because they want to convert the garage, I don't think has anything to do with the price of tea.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but, so, this is the site plan, and the previous site plan, did it show 45 people for use?
I mean, I guess if they were changing something in the existing dwelling or the office building, I mean, I can see why we'd be following up on the septic system, I guess.
Prior to that, it was medical facilities and a dental orthodontist office, which used a lot more water as well than a simple office building would use.
I would agree that that's a possibility. I just didn't know if you as the board wanted to verify that, that's all. That's up to you. If you think it's fine, that's fine also.
Will this replace the plans that we have on file? In which case,
This becomes the
official
lead
site
plan
plan.
for the site, yes.
this will represent, when it's complete, the entire site plan, So because of that, I think we should have that, on record.
In the past, I think that other towns that I've worked in, they have a documented, statement on here that the water flow is for X amount of flow, and this plan shows 45 people at, 5 gallons a day per person, and is well within the capacity of the septic system. So it's just a note that goes in the plan, and that's what I've seen in other situations, because I've had to do that to other site plans for this type of thing.
Mhm. Well, if this is gonna become the official site plan, I think it should show the septic and,
Do we have a copy of the old site plan?
I was not told that it would be this kind of discussion. I'll be right back.
okay.
Well, maybe you don't have to. If it needs to be a note put on the plan, it's just a matter of finding that information, putting it on the plan.
File or not?
I don't know, anybody in the board need to see the file?
Well, if the septic system is on the previous plan.
Well, that's being replaced by this one.
I understand that, but just curious as to whether or not it's on the previous plan. And my thought
Okay.
is, if the septic system, rather than saying this is for 45 people.
The tape's not working, so stop off.
It's not working? Oh, I see, so she's taking notes. Not plugged in. I think that the ON-OFF switch may be in the wrong position. If anybody can crawl under that little red switch on there, see if that fixes the problem. Yeah, no.
Oh, it's not the wall over there.
Yeah, it's gotta be. Yeah, it's working now.
Well, since it's now working, that's
Yeah.
one problem solved. We have an oversized septic system that perhaps could use a capacity of 100 people. I see no point in limiting this to 45 and maybe saying the septic system.
I'm not saying limit it to 45, I'm
No.
just saying that it should be shown on here that what the
What the
capacity is.
capacity
This is well
It's
within
100,
that, so.
that's great.
Yeah, I'll just get the capacity, I think.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's well in excess of.
I can tell you, I have not had any
Yeah,
problems with it, or whatever that's.
we did fix the problem with tip recorder at 7:17, and we're continuing discussion while you're looking for the plans. So,
I mean, there's nothing, no changes for landscaping, no signs are needed, there's lighting already existing.
I'm assuming it's a dumpster on the facility or something,
Yes.
so.
yeah, do we want that shown?
Just show where the dumpster is.
It's on,
Yeah.
it's on the list.
Okay. Yeah, it's over in this,
And so are we saying that?
yeah, the well,
would be
I'll
amenable
add,
to a
I'll add
waiver
that to the
on
modification.
landscaping and
Yeah.
since there's no new signage and there's no new lighting, essentially, is that
Well,
what?
actually, Glenn, we'll probably need, opinion whether we even need a waiver for that at all, if we're not,
Maybe I can address it.
if we're not addressing it as it's not part of the changes.
Well, is it that
Show landscape.
site plan review requires it, but we're just going to
Oh,
waive it
okay.
because there's no changes to it? But we don't have the waivers in front of us, but I think what the applicant's looking for is guidance as to
What waivers?
what is the board amenable to waiving, or what will we like to actually see on it?
I think very often when we have a small change to a site plan, we don't require that everything that was needed in the original, all the updates to meet code for the original plan don't necessarily need to be placed on, excuse me, what was not in place originally that's come in place subsequently doesn't necessarily need to be put in place.
Number 7, I think the fire department's gonna require the fire marshal to go in there and figure out how many people you can have in there.
Yeah, we've started speaking with them.
And obviously, this would get pushed to the fire department for review when the final, or a more concrete plan comes before us. change any of the parking requirements, you think?
No, apparently that doesn't, they said no increase in employees, and they're showing no planned increase in parking. One change is that they have one parking place that's, on town, right away. So I think the recommendation would be to eliminate the parking place that goes beyond the, property line.
That'd be a pre-existing parking spot prior to him, selling the land to the library, to the town of Kingston.
The town of
The
Kingston
previous
to the
owner
lane.
sold to the town of Kingston, that may be a pre-existing.
It's an encroachment, so it's onto town property. The question is whether you want to leave it there, you want to have it officially eliminated, or you want to have an easement placed on that to make it official. I don't see a problem there, because nobody uses that section of the right-of-way. It's just an existing condition that you could leave just the way it is if you wanted to.
Votes taken while I was gone.
No.
No, but we got
Well,
the tape.
take his version.
Oh, very nice. I figured something was going on, but the meeting was in progress, I couldn't
Yeah,
really
yeah.
stop to figure it out.
Troubleshoot. Okay, so,
The other thing about the parking is typically we have a 20-foot setback to structures and whatever, and parking areas. The question is whether they should be within, allowed within that 20-foot setback requirement from the property line. But this has been there for so long that people use it. I don't believe there's any conflict with the traffic flow that goes in and out of the library. So I don't think that that's anything to really worry about.
right, it's not like Rich is asking for a maintenance easement on that, because the library lane came in after the property existed, the parking lot was there, so. Yeah. Does anybody on the board have any strong feelings about the existing parking space and whether we need to address that? So the consensus is that we not address that, we don't mess with it. Just, yeah.
Slice out that 1/8 of the parking space.
Yeah,
You put in a
put a smart car in there.
But the board's not giving them permission, you're just not addressing it.
Yes, we're not requiring that be changed. It's a pre-existing condition that we're not requiring a change in that. So,
As far as that stormwater runoff, I'm pretty familiar with that swale.
yeah,
It's all very well grown and it's grass, it's been there for years, and that is very well good sand down there. I don't think there's any type of a problem with any water flowing down through that gully. I don't think that has to be addressed either. It's a pretty stabilized swale that's been there for a long time, it's probably 5 feet deep.
so if we want a list of waiver requests, do we want to add that to it? Is this that a request to waive any stormwater management plan changes?
If we're saying that there's a well-established stormwater,
Features,
Yeah,
existing
feature on
features
site.
are sufficient
Don't have to
to,
do anything.
and there's no changes to the parking area. So we're not gonna ask for, we don't need a waiver because we're not asking, we're not requiring.
In existence is operating adequately.
It
Okay.
appears to me the only thing on, Dennis's review that we should be concerned about is removing the word dwelling.
Existing
And the
structure.
location of the dumpster.
And the location
Location
of the dumpster.
dumpster.
Yeah, location of the
Okay.
dumpster.
So, and you have those noted to add?
I do.
Plans, okay.
And then the location.
The
of
occupancy,
septic system.
it's gotta go to, town departments for comments, but the occupancy of the, since the garage doesn't usually have an occupancy requirement, but a meeting room would occupancy for that building, upstairs and down.
How many means of egress are there in the building?
In the main building,
Yeah, on that first floor.
right.
I'm sorry, the garage.
Right, yeah.
In the garage, there's the 3 garage bays, and then there's the 1 service door
on the first floor.
Well, the building
It'll
inspector
change,
would be
yeah.
taking care of that, I'm sure.
Yeah, you're planning to eliminate the overhead door type arrangement and put in,
I was gonna keep it so the outside look the same and just
Oh.
put sliding garage doors.
Oh, okay.
And then maybe like a small, like a slider or something behind it, so that way the exterior always looks like a garage, but
Ah,
it's a little bit more insulated.
Yeah.
So I didn't wanna change the exterior.
Actually, for the people.
Yeah, it looks great.
It really-
and
it really
just-
is,
Yeah, I don't wanna mess with it too much, I just wanna do it for me and my employees.
And then Dennis's comment number 9, should we modify the parking area to be more compliant with the mitigation requirements, landscape trees, shade trees for environmental impact, and that's something,
Existing condition, it's just,
yeah, I think to change, yeah, it's, I think we won't require a waiver for that. Okay, parking space encroachment, we did that. Stormwater, we talked about that, the existing system appears to be working. And then Glenn's comments. So we need to, technically we need a written waiver at the mandatory preliminary review. I know in the past, Glenn, we've actually had the person handwrite. Oh, okay. You're doing that now? Okay. And we can vote on that. Do we need to accept jurisdiction on this? Is this? Yeah, we do. So, we need to decide. All right, why don't we do that first?
Can we do that with 2 motions or one?
The jurisdiction first, and then we'll do the waiver request.
Yeah, you should separate those.
Make a motion, we accept jurisdiction on this plan?
Second.
Any comment? Any questions? Okay, all in favor of accepting jurisdiction, say aye. Aye.
Make a motion, we waive the,
Wait a second, we get any no's or abstentions? Okay.
make a motion, we waive the mandatory preliminary review for this plan?
Second.
Motion by Lynn, second by Peter Bateman. Any questions, comments, discussion? All right, all those in favor of waiving the mandatory review, preliminary review, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Do we have that?
Do you have that written out? Just a piece of paper?
Yeah,
Yeah, you can just give it to
Pass it
Glenn,
on up
pass it
and-
on up, and we'll sign it.
Put in the file.
so what do I?
This,
I've been taking notes, what I need to do for.
yeah, I thought, Glenn said.
Only 6 words. Please waive the mandatory preliminary review.
Yeah.
Want the citation?
Oh,
Why? Who cares?
I care.
as required by Kingston.
This did hide that.
You never would have imagined I would have moved that fast.
Why would you say that?
Experience. Painful experience.
Mandatory preliminary.
And while we're doing that, we can discuss item number 2, elevation view of the sheds necessary, could be in the form of a photograph of a proposed shed. Glenn, do you think we would require an engineered drawing if it was a drawing instead of a photograph, or?
No,
Just
we've accepted,
Yeah, okay.
specification drawings.
Okay,
When they're putting up a Butler building or something,
right,
given us those before.
okay. So,
This isn't what you're looking for?
that's of the,
Exactly what I'm looking for. Is that-
is that the, no, that's the garage.
Garage.
That's the-
Oh, you want it for the shed?
Shed,
Sorry,
yeah,
I didn't
shed.
hear you.
Yeah, so, that could become a condition if when we get there.
Thank you.
Okay, you have that, and, okay. So, number two, if anybody's gonna be making a motion on this, could go in as a condition. Number three, elevations tied to USDS coordinates, again. Elevations tied to USDS. That could be, because you're gonna have to revise the plans anyway, so that, and you have a copy of these comments.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
need,
so-
well, no, I took notes on, I think the one that you added the USDS coordinates, but the other ones I had a copy of. Okay. Perfect, I got it. Yes, I have it.
Turn it over.
Okay, so Glenn, on number four, where you say a detailed stormwater management plan needs to be prepared, is that something that he'd have to write a waiver again for, or?
No,
we can just,
that's addressed by the fact that the way stormwater management is handled.
is it adequate? Okay, so,
Is been deemed by the board to be adequate, so.
okay. So, location of solid waste disposal facilities must be indicated on the plan. Yeah, thank you. And that, he's already gonna do that, so that'll be one of the conditions on that. Existing water and sewage facilities on properties up 200 feet must be shown on the plan. That's true, Dennis, should that just be,
That's a requirement, so I don't know, that can be waived.
I would hope that you would waive that. The reason we do that is because
when things
that
change,
information, when looking at where
at
they're gonna
radiuses, yes,
site their well and their septic system
which are there.
on a proposed development, and those things are already cited here.
So, again, we need the written request, I mean, we can vote on this, but, okay, well, why don't we just say, why don't we vote on that now? We take a motion to waive the existing,
You just say that
the depiction of existing sewage.
Yeah, I would say it's
systems.
not applicable, it doesn't require a waiver
it's not
because of
applicable
existing
to the
conditions.
site.
Oh, okay, all right, and it was,
What's what we're saying?
it's, yeah, because it's, the systems exist. Question was, we already answered number 7.
Not applicable.
The new shed is gonna be in an area that's already lit by the
Yeah.
existing lighting, okay. So
Not needed.
signage was not, we already answered that one? Number 9, primary structure, yeah, we did answer that one. All right, so
Agrees to fix it.
there's only,
Like 3? Elevation, dumpster, and dwelling.
Dumpster,
the word
dwelling,
dwelling. All right, do you,
Something about the shed, elevation of the shed, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
elevations tied to
yeah.
USGS.
Yeah, so elevations.
That's the whole-
yeah, elevations, dumpster, dwelling, and then Glenn needs a photo of the shed.
oh, that elevation, not the elevation on the.
Yeah,
No,
personally, and price less than delivery charge.
Frame.
Go online, take a picture of one of those,
Yeah.
Reed's Ferry sheds.
Color. Yeah,
Sorry,
I actually have a photo of it somewhere.
okay, that's a good, so, that's a good question, did we get anything? Thank you.
Something in a second, right? I think it was, no, it's not really, but- It's on the front of this. We actually didn't have a lot of department comments, other than.
Well, the building
comment.
inspector, let's see, is the only one. I think the, fire department, oh, they're gonna be reviewing the,
If it was, if we had one that was here. Okay. We'll go in the front of the file. There's a note that now that it's Dennis.
Okay. So apparently, no, we don't have any comments from department heads. So,
Well, I'm ready.
okay, you've got them all written down. We'll entertain the motions.
So I'll make a motion to grant conditional approval on the plan before us, based on the following conditions. One, that elevations need to be tied to USGS coordinates. The location of solid waste disposal facilities must be indicated on the plan. The change of the designation of existing dwelling to reflect its actual current use as office building. And then fulfill the elevation requirements of the proposed shed by either image or technical drawing.
Septic system.
Oh, and that, was that the other one we wanted to just show where the
Location, just
show the location of the existing septic system?
Second.
Okay, made by Peter, seconded by Lynn. Sorry, Chris, back. Did not-
All right.
Started doing that. Did you get all this written down? Okay. So, there's been moved for conditional approval as motion. All those in favor, any discussion? Let's do that. I think we had this discussion, so. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Ooh. Let's back up on that one. Before we vote on that, is there any public comment on this particular proposal? Okay, so,
And do we need to set a time on that?
to meet the conditions, yeah,
To meet the
usually that's
conditions.
90 days, so.
If you don't set a condition, it's automatically 90 days, if you don't
Okay.
say anything otherwise.
Do you think you need longer than 90 days to meet the
No,
conditions?
I'll be working on it tomorrow.
Not 90 minutes.
Get it done before Thanksgiving.
All right, so that we voted, no, all in favor, no, against, and no abstentions. All right, so, the other things have to be said before we close this computer. Stays out at, say, 7:38. All right, well, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. I know as a stranger, but I appreciate everybody's time on that. Do I bring this stuff to you? Thank you.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, and that, you can contact directly either Glenn or Glenn.
Okay, will do. Thanks, I appreciate it.
Okay, we're back to,
Thanks.
Charlie, the good news is we assumed you'd get here, so we just moved it down instead of continuing.
I appreciate it.
yeah, it wasn't, yeah, it was about that, so, moving that back up to item number 4, which is Robert and Cynthia Fraser, 12 Rock Rimmon Road, on a private drive, says 2 Ginger Way, tax map U11, lot 28, and U11, lot 29. Boundary line adjustment, transferring 1.99 acres from U1128 to U1129. And Charlie Zilch is here.
Most everybody has plan copies?
No, not yet. We are very definitely interested in
Okay. all
getting
set.
those passed out. I was confused. Oh, Dennis has got some, right? So you guys share, or I can share with Bill.
stereo.
Didn't have a description of it.
Well, you're both right over there, right over here, and we won't flip pages. All right, so it's, you've got Charlie's oath, right? So it's, we don't have to introduce or ask you to state your name. I guess go ahead and describe what your proposal is.
Sure. Charlie Zilch from SEC and Associates for the record. Here on behalf of Cynthia Frazier and Gingerway Realty Trust for their lot line adjustment at 12 Rock Rimmon Road and 2 Gingerway, which is off of Colcord Road, Glen. So the application involves 2 existing parcels of land. The first, owned by Cynthia Frazier. It's located at 12 Rock Rimmon Road and identified as tax map U1128. The property is 8.46 acres in size and has approximately 259 feet of frontage on Rock Rimmon Road. The property supports 1 single-family dwelling with an attached garage. The dwelling is served by its own individual on-site septic system and water supply, and access is from Rock Rimmon Road for that lot as well. The second parcel, land owned by Gingerway Realty Trust, and it's care of Mark Fowler, who's the property owner. That's located at 2 Gingerway, which is off of Colcord and Rock Rimmon Roads, and is identified on the tax maps as U1129. The property currently is 1.36 acres in size, and it has approximately 169 feet of frontage on Rock Rimmon Road and 118 feet of frontage on Colcord Road. This property supports a single-family dwelling as well as 2 residential rental units. The dwellings are served by either an individual septic system or a shared septic system located on site, and 1 water supply for all 3 of the units. Access is from Colcord Road on I believe it was named for fire access, Gingerway, which comes in off of Colcord Road. So the lot line adjustment is very straightforward. Before I say that, both properties are located in the single-family residential, and both of them are within the Aquifer Protection District. So the 3-acre lot sizing overrides the single-family lot sizing. But the intent of the plan is pretty straightforward. Just going to transfer parcel A from lot 28, land of Frazier, to lot 29, the Gingerway Realty property. The resultant adjustment will leave lot 28 with 6.47 acres, and then the Gingerway property, lot 29, will now grow to 3.35 acres. So pretty simple exchange of just a parcel area on the back of lot 28 over to 29. No state approvals required, no waivers, other than I think we had a waiver just for engineering review, and no variances required. Any questions?
Before we go to board questions, I think probably comments from Dennis and Glenn are appropriate.
I think that would be wonderful.
I've got a lot of questions here. So, not too many comments on this one. I took a note that the legend identifies a lot of things that aren't on the plan, so maybe that could be adjusted so that the legend is specific to this project, because there's no guardrails, tree lines, mailboxes, spot grades, street lights, or whatever. So that is a simple change.
Yep.
The rest of it, the lot calculations are appropriate, bounds are set appropriate, the lot width is appropriate, so it's pretty straightforward as far as my review is concerned. My only other question was how it became to be 2 Gingerway when the main building for that lot 29 has the driveway and frontage along Colcord Road. Why isn't it Colcord Road? But I don't know, maybe you don't know that, Charlie, because that's the way it's been there for a long time. I remember I did the septic design for it and a few years ago, and it's always been that way. It's always been 2 lots, so it's just, I don't know, why did the town make it that way.
I believe this gentleman has the answer.
You have the answer.
Oh, I don't have,
Has
I
all
was
the answers.
told the answer.
Congress must
So you can convey it.
I can, I can. My comments are snarky, that's about all they are, because it's the first public hearing, so we need to invoke jurisdiction on the plan. And there's certainly all the information that the board needs in order to invoke jurisdiction. I have no substantive concerns with the proposed boundary line adjustment. I have all sorts of questions regarding the creation of a road for 3 units on tax map U1129. In addition, although the proposed lot does not run, that should say the proposed lot line does not run perpendicular to Rock Rimmon Road, as the town subdivision regulations prefer. It does run perpendicular to Culford Road, which is the other road involved here, so I think they absolutely meet that subdivision requirement, even though it's sort of a preference.
Just a quick clarification, isn't that proposed lot line parallel to Colcord Road, not perpendicular?
Oh, yeah, you're right, it is.
Okay.
It is.
Thank you.
And this is, when Charlie came in and told us that he wanted to do a boundary line adjustment on Ginger Way, I was like, you're an idiot, there is no Ginger Way. We don't have one.
Google says there is.
I think that you want to go.
Oh, absolutely.
I've been
married.
Because it was always 14 Rock
Well, that's,
ever.
It was changed for apparently 911.
oh, that's my next question.
To get to the
What's the
second
official 911, because,
So that in the instance of emergencies, people have addresses as to how to get there. So it's actually, on Ginger Way, there's a unit 2, 4, and 6.
With the pictures of.
Well, all the pictures for all 3 units are only of the house. There is no, in the tax assessment records, there's no pictures of either the converted barn or the cottage. But that's something for the selectmen to worry about, not for us to worry about.
yeah, they're not proposing any new structures on that lot.
That's two and four.
So, I mean, from a boundary line adjustment standpoint, Charlie has crossed all the Ts and dotted all the Is.
I do have one suggestion, though. Something we did just touch on briefly when we first brought in the application is maybe having Colcord Road in the project title, or the plan title, so that if it's researched by street name at the registry, you'll be able to find it. Because I don't know if anybody's gonna ever look for Ginger Way.
Well, they're not gonna find it, like, not on our road map,
Right.
they're not gonna find it.
Right, so I wouldn't mind adding that to the title of the plan.
And if it's town road, do we maintain it and plow it?
It's not town road,
It's
though.
not a town road, right?
It's driveway. And that's,
I know it's a driveway, but I don't think the people with the address think it's a driveway.
I think they do.
I think they must know, because the town's obviously not gonna plow that. It comes off of a driveway. I agree that we, this should be, no,
Well, the
and
town
I
thinks
think
it's
that
an
that's the
excessive
confusion of
subdivision.
using the title Ginger Way in this description of the location of the property, and it should be the location on Colcord Road. Now, I'm assuming that the frontage issue, because of Colcord Road and Rock Rimmon are both town roads, there's at least 200 feet of frontage.
Right.
And that's what we're using for that. And this actually makes a non-compliant lot a little more compliant by coming up to the, you said 3 acre minimum because of the aquifer protection zone. Correct. So, yeah, and I was confused by the comments about the perpendicularity. It's not far from being perpendicular from Rock Rimmon Road. The first part of the line is the original line. So
If you Google it, Pete, it comes up to Ginger Way.
that's what I did at home. I came up, and it comes up with a dot right over here. When you look at it on the satellite view,
I know,
there's no road.
that was my off talking.
So, so Google knows where it is. Apparently 911 knows where it is, but I think for the purposes of town tax maps, and you say for registering deeds, it should be addressed as to where the driveway comes off the town road, and that is, then you said 14?
It was 14 Rock Rimmon, but this would be Concord Road.
I mean, oh,
I don't
oh,
know.
oh, I see, 14 Rock Rimmon. It's 2 Concord Road? Oh, that's the next house down?
There was just a driveway to the rental units for like 40 years, until they did 911, and then it became Ginger Way. So the first home on Concord was the Fords, so that's why it was number 2. Because
Yeah.
that didn't exist.
Yeah, and that was back, right.
Right.
And we've never shifted to distance, street designations, so that happens,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm surprised it's not
To
14 Rock
A
Rimmon
one A
Road,
or, yeah.
A, B, and C, or 1, 2, and 3.
Exactly.
Exactly, and then everybody would know where it was, and 911 could find it.
When Charlie came in and told me he wanted to do something on Ginger Way, I wouldn't tell him to go to Plastow.
Honestly,
Right.
though, we had quite a laugh over you bringing it to the wrong town.
Well, as my draftsman was getting into it, and he came to me with information on Ginger Way, I'm like, what are you talking about? And then he's like, no, well, that's what they call it. I'm like, oh, okay. And then he showed me the tax card and all the other information and the deeds and everything.
Yeah, I looked down
Okay.
going, Glenn, is there a Ginger Way in Kingston? He's like, no. I'm like, Charlie thinks there is. So, yeah.
All right, so that's, I guess, the first thing we should do is invoke jurisdiction, that's, and then, so I'll
I
take a
make a
motion.
motion, we invoke jurisdiction on the plan.
Second. And then it's a tie between Bill and Chris. Pick one.
We don't need to fight over it.
Okay, any discussion on invoking jurisdiction? Right, take a vote, all in favor, say aye. Aye. And opposed, say nay, and any abstentions? Okay, so that's Kuna for invoking jurisdiction. So having gotten that done, we can address issues such as the address and whether we want to broach that subject. And as you, I think your point to recording deeds and to Rockhampton search, because they're not gonna find anything if you live in Ginger Way.
So like I said, it's simple, title change. To note, I could put, you know, Old Rockman Road, Concord Road, and then in parentheses, to Ginger Way. And all of it'll be on there, and then you'll be able to research and find it any which way. Yeah. I think that'd be the simplest way to take care of it.
Okay, so what you said, 14 Rock Rimmon, Concord Road unnumbered, and
Yep,
Ginger Way?
to Ginger Way.
All right. See. Do you have any department comments on this one?
Yep.
Okay. We go to that. Any other board comments while we're waiting?
They're quite extensive.
Okay, this is from fire department. No comment. Building department. No comment. That's it, huh?
That's it.
I had to read that. What? A public, and did you want to comment on the?
No, I haven't been Ginger Way for more than a year or two.
I think,
I think
like
like
4
years,
years.
maybe 5 years.
Maybe
I think 4 years, yeah.
It came Ginger Way the last time it was put on the market for sale. Until then, it was always Rock Rimmon Road.
And the interesting part is there's no, I'm 6 Culture Road, and 2.
Oh, so there's not 4, but we can't swap them around because.
There's no 4,
Right.
which was kind of bizarre when they put the road in, they put the driveway in, why they didn't.
Use that number.
Yeah.
Would have been too simple.
Okay.
It makes it very confusing.
It
But
does.
it's good to know that, you know, I didn't see it really to confirm that Ginger Way is not a town road.
Okay, yeah, it is. Right. Yeah, I don't think there's any confusion about that. Towns disclaiming any ownership of that.
There's no confusion here.
No, and on the tax maps, there's no confusion.
There's confusion in the assessor's office downstairs.
Oh, okay. But that's adequately addressed, do you think? We don't have to, by having it recorded in the deeds as Rock Rimmon and Concord, the address, I don't know. I think, if, as long as your plans, you might even add Ginger Way private,
Yeah, that's, I was just writing that down, I'd probably
Yeah.
put that on there as well.
to avoid any confusion on the recorded thing.
Yeah, I think that simplifies it.
Yeah, all right. Any board comments? All right. Is anybody ready to make a proposal on this one? Other than you, Charlie, eh? I know you could probably do it, but that's,
Make a motion to grant approval on the plan.
for the boundary line
The
adjustment
boundary line.
as depicted on this one.
Appreciate it, because it would have been after.
The land is shown tonight.
Didn't someone say there was a condition?
Condition of
There must have just
adding the
been-
word private or anything, as, you might have, I tried to just
Says-
assume, Charlie. Yeah, no, it says gravel, at first I thought that said private.
Didn't you wanna change some, oh no, I'm sorry, that was on his own notes.
Yeah, I don't think anybody brought anything up.
Nope,
No condition?
oh no, adjust the legend to be specific.
Oh, so that's right, Dennis is, yeah,
Let the legend be adjusted to reflect what's on the plan.
yeah, eliminate, items that are not depicted. Okay,
Second.
okay. Motion by Lynn, seconded by Phil. The other PC. Any further discussion before we vote? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. And so you'll modify the plans briefly, and, any requirements, 90 days is enough?
Yep, we gotta set monuments too.
What?
We gotta set a couple of monuments too out there,
Oh,
so we'll get that done too.
yep, got to see that on that.
Then we're good?
I think so. Anything else, Alan, that we need to do before we close that item out?
Okay, we'll take care of it, and, have a very happy Thanksgiving if I don't see any of you. Till then. Thanks again. Yeah, have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, Charlie. Christmas wrapping paper.
I know.
One of the items that, Glenn passed out that, item, and put this one here.
He was just handing it out tonight, and we got it.
Yeah, so it's just
And he just said at the last meeting, he probably should have.
have it for us, okay.
So I think that that's on the December.
Okay.
Well, it should be. You guys need to put it on.
It's a good place for it.
Yeah. You gotta get back to one of those hearings. You gotta get back to watch work Center hearings? Or,
No, I've got paint drying, I'd rather watch.
well, that's about the same, isn't it? Glenn, did we decide that we put the, capital improvement plan to the December meeting? Present it then, or did you have it ready to present to the board now?
No, it's gonna be December.
December, yeah,
Glenn was going to ask you to put it on the agenda.
Got nothing.
okay. Can you put it on the agenda,
You want it
please?
on
for-
December 3rd?
Yeah.
Sorry, we're under board business now. We've closed the hearing at 7:57. And so we've received the memorandum from Glenn Greenwood for our perusal to discuss at the December meeting on the comparison of the Shoreline Protection District and New Hampshire's Shoreline Water Quality Protection Act that Lynn had talked about at the previous meeting. And you'd like us to review that and then just before we come in to discuss it, so we.
Yeah, I mean, there are some differences, and I think there are some areas that the town might want to consider changing the ordinance. But I think it will take some discussion.
Okay.
But I do think that, I think our ordinance has actually stood up pretty well, considering the number of attempts and changes it's taken for the state's law to get where it is today. My biggest problem with just saying go to it is that their protection is primarily for great ponds, so ponds that are 10 acres in size or greater. And they only protect rivers that are fourth order or larger. And those are large rivers. For the town, it would mean the only protected river situation would be the Powell River.
Oh, Exeter River's not that big?
Actually, it doesn't.
We don't
We're
have
the
any
watershed, but we don't have.
in our town, but the little river that runs into the Exeter River is a third one.
Oh, okay.
And wouldn't, and so the little river that's on both ends of town, neither would qualify. And presently, our ordinance covers anything found on the USGS quadrangle map for Kingston that's a perennial stream. And that's several streams in town that get the protection. It's reduced. It's 100 feet as opposed to 150 feet for building setbacks, but they are protected shorelands. The state doesn't include those at all. So we would be, so I don't feel like it's justified to just say, let's let that act take over for us. Because for the most part, everywhere else, we're pretty close to what the standards are. There wouldn't be a huge, I don't think you would see a huge difference other than eliminating a number of resources that we protect now that would no longer be protected. And that is a concern.
So you're thinking maybe we could change everything so it matches the state with the exception of adding, or including a special section about the.
Keeping the protections for those
You need to
streams
have those
that
streams
aren't
protected,
protected.
particularly for fertilizer getting to the lakes.
I mean, there are things with ours that are like, well, they're just differences, so people should look at the differences. The building setbacks are fairly close between the two, but there are differences, so I think we need to look at them and then discuss them. The issue is, if we discuss them in December, we couldn't make any changes this year unless we held a public hearing. That public hearing would happen in January. We couldn't hold a second public hearing. We'd only have one public hearing.
Right.
And I thought that the board previously said this was not going to be on this year's.
I'm not sure that we said that
I don't
about
think
this
we
one.
said that, I think we
I
said
think we
that
said
about
that
something.
about the Newfields
Oh,
conservation.
maybe that was it. I
subdivision.
knew there was one. I apologize.
That one, because
Wasn't this
everyone
one?
had the ability to look at that, but that was, so I think we need to look at it. I'm sorry I've taken so long to get this to you, because I have really shortened the window of opportunity for public hearings. And I'm sorry about that, but I really did want to have the time to look at it.
I think it's important that we see what we can do for this year, simply because I'd hate to see the confusion continue. As people try to struggle to meet both of them.
Okay. So, we should come in prepared to discuss that on December 3rd and
On December 3rd, yes.
And we could maybe change a few things to meet state standards within here, but not.
One public hearing to do that.
Yeah. And if we didn't, and what would be the disadvantage would be is if there are any changes that were proposed in that one public hearing, we wouldn't be able to.
We wouldn't have time to do a
We
second
wouldn't
public
have to,
hearing.
we would end up pushing it back for another year, so.
Correct. So we would have to be very certain about, very comfortable with the changes that we were going to make, because we'd only have the ability to do one public.
Okay.
Speaking of these kind of things, after I spoke with Glenn, after he spoke with the board and Ellie about the accessory dwelling unit and how by posting it meant that everybody had to go through extra hoops, I asked Glenn, what if we didn't post it yet? And he said, then we wouldn't have to do it. And I went, then why don't we don't post it until we have to? And he suggested that was a good idea, but I wanted to pass it by the board. make sure that you all knew too.
So that if we posted that in January,
Yeah, we'll wait till,
if there was an application in December, they would follow what was the standard process now of going to the ZBA. And not the confusion of it being the conditional use permit and doing the ZBA process during that interim between now and town meeting. We would only be exposed to that for those that came in midway through January and all of February, which may not be any.
It's not a big building.
but rather than make it even more confusing, it's like, why don't we just not post it until the latest we have to? But again, since you're the board and you direct that, we thought we
Well,
should double check.
is that affected by the fact that we've already voted on it?
We posted it.
Okay, so that's the determining factor, is posting of the
It has to be
ordinance.
publicly posted.
Okay.
And it has not been, because we were waiting to hear what happened with Peter.
And we're gonna have to have a public hearing if we get a citizen's petition. And that period has only been open for a week and a half or so.
So we always, not knowing what we're gonna get, we always post a public hearing anyway.
Right.
In which case you can just ratify what you've already done, but, because we have to post it before we know.
And when's the closing for that?
It's roughly the second Wednesday in December. I mean, it's officially, 90 days from town meeting, back to town meeting.
Do we need a motion for that, or we just?
But I haven't heard of anybody
We just-
submitting this.
We don't act on it until it's time to post it, so we'll need a particular file item.
Because at the time, you guys said you were gonna wait until you heard back from Peter before you wanted to. post
Right,
it.
and then that's when Glenn came back with the opinion.
Yeah, and when I heard that, I'm like, oh my God, that's a nightmare. So I went, how about we just don't post it?
Yeah, it didn't make that either. Not only do I have to keep doing it, but we're gonna have some more too. All right, so why don't we, so you guys put that on your particular file?
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
it's right on my desk.
All right, any objections to that? All right, so, we move on to critical correspondence?
Yep.
And tell me what we've got here.
That's a letter from Heidi Corson
okay.
next door,
Read
and I
this.
have to abstain.
Okay, I'll read this for the record. It's Heidi Corson, Down to Earth Garden Shop, 167 Main Street, which is the former sort of grocery store here. I'm writing to inform you that the Down to Earth Garden Shop has recently signed a lease for the additional space next to us that was formerly the Kingston Candy Shop, or Unit 3, so we will be occupying Units 1, 2, and 3. There's no change in the business plan, only the ability for us to have more space to sell our wares. Contact information remains the same, so forth as given. I won't read the phone number in the public record. At this time, we have no plan for additional signage. If and when we do, we would submit a letter and ask for application from the Town and Historic District Commission. Please advise us to any other steps we may need to take. We greatly love being in town and appreciate your input and assistance. So I guess I put to the board, is there anybody who feels that this requires further action? Okay, so consensus of the board is no further action required
But we should commend her
for growing business.
presentation that she's done all over the central town.
Yeah,
She's done a very nice job, the dome looks nice too, the decorations.
so I would say the consensus of the board is that you inform the applicant that no further information required, and this consensus of the board is thank you for
There used to be an East Kingston,
you've made.
and they're all, first of all, very glad they did.
Sign the town, yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice, I mean, I think the fact that we notice it, we should pass that on to the person.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing.
Appropriate. Outside our boundary.
Okay, then we have, 4 invoices from the town engineer that needs to be initialed.
Okay, this doesn't need professional services to the, where's this from?
Oh, yes,
Greenwood Pond LLC condominium. Okay.
Did we
That's-
forget?
Oh, this is from Dennis,
Yeah.
sorry, okay, I had to read it up, it's not from Greenwood.
Going back to square one.
So it's $564 for Greenwood Pond condominium that wasn't.
She came in to see, they're going to try to figure something out between those two guys that don't wanna work together. So,
Oh. Okay. It's personal problem, okay. And today is 19th?
Yes.
November 2019. And this is the same thing? No, this is different.
This one's
is,
for TID, the Mill Road subdivision.
okay. Okay, yeah,
Date and sign that, just because otherwise you can't pay them.
November 19. Okay, so that's, and that's for Dennis for Pitt and Dennis for
Next one,
Prior.
The Prior subdivision.
Well, yeah, a lot of work you're doing, Dennis, on stuff that never happened.
And then.
And finally,
Salzone.
Calzone, which is ongoing,
Yes.
so.
Yeah, I mean, the store hasn't looked this good. No, not yet.
Okay, this one you guys, we didn't get a consensus, so you have to figure out what you want to do now.
Okay, so this is regarding the Sleep Institute buffer that was sent to us by email. I know that I had concerns that what was being requested was a blanket request to cut trees in the buffer zone, which could be interpreted, if we had approved it as written, as requested, sorry, that the trees could be removed from the buffer zone entirely. So, and I did talk to Glenn after we had this, and he had made the same comments. So we did not get a consensus on this by email. So has everybody's read the letter?
What do you think? You're about it, you've seen
Well,
it.
yeah,
I would probably have to exclude myself from this conversation.
From what they showed, it looks like there's stuff hanging out in their driveway.
right. And as I pointed out in my response, was that I had no problem with them cutting down hazardous trees. But but we need to be specific and say, how many trees are you cutting down, or are you cutting down just the ones that, branches, or are you cutting the whole trees down if there's one branch overhanging or whatever? So, my proposal.
Steve or Dennis, who said we need to draw the line? I thought it was you.
Steve.
But if you have a buffer, I mean, you decide you can cut 10 feet back from the driveway or something
Well,
like that.
I think these are tall trees, and quite frankly, the trees are taller than the buffer zone. So, their concern is, if you say 10 feet back, well, a tree that's 15 foot back can fall into the building,
Okay.
and that's a hazard. And we wouldn't want to keep them from doing that just because we said. So instead of arbitrarily saying, giving a setback like that, we said, can you mark the trees that you want to cut down, and we can go take a look at them, and then come back and vote and say, yeah, those trees are good, or or really, you don't need to get 17 trees in there.
Would you request replanting?
That would be something that the board could consider.
Or a plan from an arborist, which ones would pose the most threat to the structure?
If I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
I
You
spoke
talk to
with-
him,
I
yeah.
spoke with her. She has a tree guy. She thinks that there are 6 to 8 that should come down. But she was gonna have a tree guy talk to her about those that she thought posed an imminent threat to her. So I don't think she would have any problem with doing any flagging beforehand to let the board know the ones that she thought were gonna come down. And I think the tree guy was gonna be out there 3 days after the last time I talked to her, which has been 2.5 weeks probably. So I'm sure he's already been out there. So I'm happy to call her and say that the board would like to see the trees flagged that are at issue right now. And then you can go forward with how you feel about those marked trees.
That would be the way I would go with it. I think we can discuss whether some understory plantings might help improve the buffer if a lot of trees came down. But any other suggestions? Anybody want to weigh in? Yeah, well, that's what it would require. We'd have to schedule that. Well, that's interesting. You were the term tree guy. Tree guy could be an arborist, or it just could be, like Bruce's tree service.
I can't speak to this.
I'm almost positive the guy she has do her landscaping is an arborist. I saw that on a sign the
I
other
mean,
day.
she couldn't be, more amenable to deal with this issue from my perspective. It seems like she honestly wants to make sure she does what the planning board is comfortable with. So, I think further conversation with her will achieve what the board wants to achieve.
Can we ask for the trees to be flagged by a certain date and then, set up a site visit now as opposed to waiting for our next meeting? Because, I don't wanna keep the project from occurring, especially as we're moving into winter when the hazard trees,
Right, when snow and ice.
starts
create
coming down.
worse Issues.
Yeah, so, let's see, what's the day, is the 19th, next week's kind of tough. We meet on December 3rd, we could, wait until December 3rd, and you could reply back to us with when she feels she can get them flagged, and then we could try to set up a visit.
I mean, I'll call her on Thursday. We could have something set up
This
before
weekend?
December 3rd. She might not care if it's after December 3rd. And she told me she has in her mind a limited budget on how much she wants to spend on doing this.
Right,
So
that's
if he
expensive,
came out
yeah.
and told her that he thought there were 10 trees, I think she was going to tell him, that's not what
Seven, yeah.
I'm interested in doing at this point. So, I mean, if I talk with her on Thursday and she proposed that she could have it flagged during the week of Thanksgiving, is there something we could do the first week of December?
Yeah, I'm open to anything, so if you could maybe contact her, and it may be something that you could have Ellen send out an email to board members, and then we could or we could set up the date, say November 30th, or November 23rd, if she knows what she's got planned, and then we could cancel it if she's not ready by then. 23rd, 24th. That's this coming Saturday. It's, what I'm saying is if she's comfortable knowing what she's already been identified, that if the trees have already been identified. I mean, she's obviously got branches she's identified here.
I'm sure she wants to retain some type of buffer around that line.
Yeah, and I got that impression from the letter too. It's,
Hanging it over,
and-
damage to her building, correct? She had damage to the building.
There are pictures.
yeah, there's,
She doesn't want any more, so.
right, well, actually, I think it was concerned with the cars underneath, but, the building's been damaged yet, but no, I understand her concern. It's just that we have been burned on trees specifically, recently, and, I don't feel comfortable giving blanket permission, because I've seen what happens when you do that, and they come back and say, well,
Let's see what happens when you don't.
well, that's true, but, but at least they're taking it onto that one. They can't come back and say.
I will call her. If there is an immediacy in her reaction, then we'll get back to the board.
People want me to set up a
It
site
might
walk?
be that she's comfortable waiting until after December 3rd, I don't know.
Do people want me to post it, and then we can always cancel it?
Yeah, we could do
Yeah, I
that.
think that would be good. How about, Saturday at 8:30 in the morning?
When are you gonna post that, Ellen?
Wednesday morning,
The 20,
first thing, I have to go to Market Basket first, but as soon as I come back from Market Basket, I'll post it.
How about you don't post it until I can talk with her at noon?
Yeah, no,
because of the time. We can move it to
Thursday.
Sunday. Oh,
I work in the morning in the planning board office on Thursday at noon. I have people coming in to get Thanksgiving baskets. I won't have time anytime after the morning. I'll just cancel it right out.
Well, I hate posting anything without having talked to her first.
What are you doing tomorrow?
Honestly, I'm traveling to Syracuse.
Oh, well, that will be tough for you to do.
So I
Yeah,
really can't.
just telling you, I won't have a chance.
Covered.
If I don't do it Thursday morning, then it's not gonna be,
I mean, I can't see her getting upset because she's been so amenable to everything so far. You know what, I honestly don't think she would be. And she's not gonna see it before, if you do post it Thursday morning, she's not gonna see it before I talk to her.
no.
She's not
I'll,
sitting.
I'll tell
People
Susan,
down there sleeping, we all come pulling in, we're here!
I'll tell Susan not to put it on the website until after you confirm it, so, but it'll just be legally posted.
Right, then, no,
That
that's
give
great.
you 48
That's
hours?
Technically, it's 24.
Okay. Is everybody available, or who wants to come on this, available then?
23rd, what time?
8:30, anybody, I know there's a few people like to be earlier, some like to be later.
Love it in the morning.
Yeah.
In all fairness, you do have, Peter, while joking, makes a legitimate point that I don't know what her business model is with people at the Sleep Institute, and whether you're gonna screw up.
They do have some kind of weird hours, you see people in there.
Well, I mean, you might wanna confirm that 8:30 doesn't mess up stuff he has to do.
I'm not sure that they do Friday night. Wait,
I don't know.
I think we're really trying to
Yeah.
push a round peg in a square hole here.
I'm saying, I think we should ask her.
I mean,
But
we
anyway.
could do a drive-by shooting, quite frankly, I mean,
What?
a drive-by look.
Drive-by shooting.
Drive-by shooting.
Take a camera and you drive by.
I prefer we don't do that.
No, we don't do that, sorry. You can, a drive-by look, where you go, you stay on the town road, and you can see, this is a pretty small area, pretty thin buffer, thin in two senses
And
of
the
the word.
buffer is see-through.
Yeah, and.
You have permission to sit on my front.
Move-
I'll get the goats out of there, you can stand there.
Park over there.
She gets too many trees, and you have to repaint the barn.
It's on the list.
I mean, if it's just a matter of looking at the pink tape on the trees, the secondary issue is then, whether we want to suggest that that buffer be improved as part of this permission to cut hazard trees, is maybe suggest some kind of
She's not doing
shrubbery.
that.
No? Okay.
I've suggested to her that several different possibilities, and she was, I'm not gonna, I just want, she says, if the board won't let me cut the trees, at least find out if they'll let me cut the dangerous branches.
Yeah, well, I assume that if she'd want to save money on this, definitely those broken branches and stuff would.
The dangerous branches, I don't think the planning board has any authority over.
No.
We can't tell her that she can't take unsafe branches off of the tree.
That's the way I read that. What they can take, spend a lot of money, you can't cause a financial hardship or start planting a forest again. Then it's gonna damage your cars or a house, how will you just cut them down? Common sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Unless you want to disturb her.
So, yeah, so this is, the fact that she's come to us, we shouldn't just give blanket. But I'm all in favor of letting her take on anything that's unsafe and, or potentially unsafe, so. Let's go ahead with this planned site walk and, you know.
I'll talk with her and see how far she's gone.
Yeah, and if she doesn't want to do that, we can just say, okay, you know, you take down.
So the planning
we'll
board
deal with that.
consensus is that she can take down any unsafe branches, but if she wants to take down trees, the board would like to do a site walk and would like her to mark the trees.
Find the
so
ones
that-
that she would like to remove.
Right.
Yep.
All right. You'll call.
Yes, I'll talk to her on Thursday.
Next, this is not to do anything with that.
Rockingham County Conservation District, the RCCD staff witnessed 4 additional test pits for multifamily residential. This is 4 Marshall Road, Bluestone Investments. Okay, that's the first one on the left, behind Fort Knox. And they all passed. 4 test bits passed. All of these test bits meet town and state soil and wetland setback requirements for wastewater disposal. The summary's attached. So, is there any action required? No.
This needs to take a vote or something. That's what it's saying.
Okay, Town of Kingston, New Hampshire voluntary lot merger form. 21 Willow Road, Newton. No,
That's where he lives. It's
21 Circuit Road Drive and 19 Circuit Drive. To be consolidated to a single parcel. U3 lot 50 and 51. Is there any, do we need to see a plan or?
All we care about is that the deeds have to be in the same name.
Okay.
They can combine their property whenever they want.
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
have to sign off on the paper.
All real small lots down there, so merger
Yeah.
is a good thing.
Yeah,
See all these little green things?
Oh.
You have to sign.
okay. All right, and then they're responsible for notifying, mortgage
This
companies.
goes back downstairs to the assessor's office, and then it gets dealt with through them. They deal with it initially, all we have to do is
Sign it.
sign it. Does
Okay.
the board have to vote or anything, or do we just have to?
There's no authority for us to vote.
So the board authorized the chairman, acting chairman, to sign the lot line.
All right, so we'll write it that way. Anything else while we're dating things?
Yeah, you missed it.
Okay.
Want to tell people what's coming up?
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is coming up, is we have an extension request for the planning board approval dated June 18th, 2019, from Jones and Beach for 4 Marshall Road. We're still trying to work through some things with the state. Their conditional approval expires December 18th. So they're asking.
So they went to the ZBA area, right, Colin, from them? Because they had a
Yes,
problem with the
because
road.
theirs was getting ready to expire
Correct.
too,
Yeah,
so.
they have one already from the ZBA.
Yep, so this was the one, ours was just a little bit later, and they haven't done it yet, so the board would have to, take a motion to,
How long are they looking for?
they haven't said in here anything in particular, let's see. Nope, they haven't said a date that they would like it
How
extended.
long was the original one for?
6 months.
Make a motion to give them another 6 months.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions?
That one's done.
Okay.
I'm not gonna work that one, so I know where it is. Okay, this is just the bond balance list, if anyone wants to.
Anybody want to see the bond balance list? Who's got, oh, the favorite one? Okay,
In the road.
yeah, that's right.
This is the impact fee fund balance list, in case anyone wants it.
Oh, I see, it's, he's got it right now. Anybody want to see the impact fee list balances?
And this is the court decision.
Oh, yeah, we got this emailed to us. That's what I mean, we, the board, got this emailed to us. So, what happens next?
That's a question for the gentleman to your left.
It really is.
Yeah, that's all we're dealing with this stuff, as far as, they come back to us with a.
I mean, I've gotta talk to Sumner, but, well, actually, Susan's supposed to be calling Sumner about that, but, I mean, as far as we're concerned, the cease and desist is still in effect, and,
They still need a plan, or,
yeah, the original site plan is still in effect, the cease and desist is still in effect until those conditions are met. But, we're waiting to hear back from council on that.
all right.
I can bring you an update at the next meeting, how's that?
Can I just say something
Yeah.
about that? One of the association members stopped by my office and was asking me what's going on and why the town is holding up fixing the dwellings that are in disrepair. And I enlightened him about the whole process and showed him what needed to be done, and it wasn't the town's fault for holding things up. And through a lengthy discussion, he fully understood it, because he said we were gonna have a meeting next week with the association, and I just wanted to be able to convey that to the association. And I understand now, he says, that it's not the town that's holding things up, because he lives right near one of them.
But those two shells look horrifying.
Oh, they do, and I don't, you know, I agree with him that something should be done, but it isn't the town that's holding it up.
Right.
It's the developer who's not doing what he's supposed to do, and if he did, then they could be finished. It isn't the town's fault. I want to make sure that he understood that and showed him what needed to be done, and he didn't think it was a big deal to get the work done. I showed it to him. I said, it's not a big deal. I said, why spend money on lawyers and legal costs and stuff like that when you just put the money toward doing the work? He said, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So took it back, and I think he took that information back to the association, so.
I ran into Attorney Kalman shortly after we got the decision. We were chatting a little bit about it, and he was quite complimentary on the work you had done on behalf of the town.
Yeah.
So I wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, the judges definitely
Thank you.
cites your work in there, quite a bit.
It's only a process that we needed to do, whether it was me or
He
somebody
loved the
else,
maps.
it doesn't really matter, but
He loved the maps we did. He says that sold it to the
that
judge.
helped the judge a lot, I think.
So that was it.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes as printed.
Oh, well, I got a couple of things, actually, if you'll notice in the very end, it said Miss Merrill's name was misspelled on page 3, and in saying so, she misspelled your name.
What do you mean? What did I miss?
There's 2 L's in Merrill.
Oh, I thought there was. Sorry, it's impossible.
It's hard to see because it's ILL, yeah. But apart from that, and there was a discussion that says that Southeast Land Trust declined to accept ownership of the open space. But it's probably what he said. He meant to say the easement, but if he said open space, we can't change it. But we want to clarify that that was because Mr. Greenwood noted that the homeowners association will own the open space, so that there was just some discussion, I think, about the easements. And that's just a technicality. But I don't think we should modify the minutes, because if he said ownership as opposed to owning the easement, then that's as he said it. And that'll come up again anyway. Oh, and there's this one here, in effect until, is that supposed to be? In effect, yes, town meeting.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I just.
Oh, you know what? Yeah. Out of that line, I can see that
Okay.
my computer hopped and it deleted something I didn't put.
Oh, okay.
So what do you want?
Um,
You want to just show me that and I'll put it as the correction?
I make a motion, we accept the minutes as revised.
Okay.
Yep. And all in favor?
As amended, I'm sorry.
As amended, yeah. Any, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, aye. And any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstention, I wasn't there.
Okay.
Oh.
But you can still vote.
You can still vote on that, but, yeah,
How can I vote on whether or not
I
minutes are
know.
accurate if I wasn't there? It's just like when I don't vote, if I actually haven't read them, I won't vote that, saying that they're okay.
That was the debate at the training.
Yeah, I know, that's. Okay, let's ask Whitney for that one.
So moved.
Okay. Oh, actually, did you make it, or did you?
That was a question, but I will state it in the affirmative. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second by Chris.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, you can stay on your.
I won't abstain either. I'll fully vote on that.